Well, as soon as I uploaded the Kalam cosmological argument, I was challenged on Discord to run tag. I say tag is bullshit. Anyone opposed?
Hi, my name is Matt Slick.
Oh, goody! Matt's coming to play again. This one has been a massive headache. Not because it was difficult or that finding a subject was hard, just in researching for a good subject, the best I could find is a grainy, left-ear-only, staticky video by Matt that I had to spend half an hour clearing the hell up just to make it even tolerable. I did him and Nephilim free about a month ago, but someone said that after I did the Kalam I should do tag as a follow-up. So here we are with Matty Boy once again. Fuck my life. Tag is short for the Transcendental argument for God. At this point, the best argument for God is that I'm still sane after all of this. Wait. Did I just become a Christian? Nope. No, not a fucking chance. I am absolutely insane. So, Sound Clip Demon, I'm going to need a hand here for a sec. Simply stated, the tag argument is as follows.
Premise 1.
God is a necessary precondition for logic and morality.
Premise 2.
People depend on logic and morality, showing that they depend on the universal, immaterial, and abstract realities, which could not exist in a materialistic universe, but presupposes the existence of an immaterial and absolute God.
Conclusion.
Therefore, God exists. If he didn't, we could not rely on logic, reason, morality, and other absolute universals, and could not exist in a materialistic universe where there are no absolute standards or absolute lawgiver. Needless to say, atheists like myself don't just grant the premises. They need to be justified. Premise 1 is a claim, plain and simple, made with no justification behind it on the surface. Premise 2 has a claim hidden inside. Yes, we depend on logic and morality. However, this dependency does not show that they could not exist in a materialistic universe or that a lawgiver is needed, since it has not shown that there is one. Lots of negatives in there, I know. Back to Matt. Let's get started.
Christians often have to face various challenges to their faith. One of the most daunting is to prove that God exists.
I won't do that to you, Matt. You and I both know that with the exception of God showing up in a choir from the clouds with seraphims and golden beams of light, we are not going to be able to prove God exists or prove he doesn't.
Well, do you think it's possible to prove God's existence? I do.
Okay. Should I wear sunglasses or will the beams of light not hurt my eyes? I mean, it is angelic light we're talking about to start the choir.
And I'll attempt to do so by using tag, or the transcendental argument for God's existence.
So, no angelic light and no choir? Damn. Oh well. The only thing we have proven so far is that Matt doesn't understand the difference between a convincing argument and an actual proof something is the case. Instead of mocking him relentlessly, hey Matt, what's your argument?
How does an atheist account for the existence of logical absolutes, such as the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle?
Oh boy. The laws of logic are non-dependent. We use the laws to describe the world we exist in, but the laws would exist without a mind to conceive of them. I gave an example on this in another video, but to save you all the trouble, I can repeat it quickly here. If every mind in the universe just stopped existing, every living thing in the entirety of the universe all at once, leaving everything exactly where it is now, would the device you are listening to this video from still exist? Well, it either has to exist or not exist, so this question has only one answer. That is the law of excluded middle. The answer is yes, because it couldn't both exist and not exist. That is the law of non-contradiction. And since we are talking about a thing, that thing has identity. That is the law of identity. So the laws of logic do not need a mind and thus must exist regardless of the perception of them. The mind only realizes the laws and does not substantiate them.
If the atheist says he doesn't need to give an account for them, then why not?
Been there, done that. Sorry for getting ahead of you there, Matt. Please continue.
If he doesn't need to give an account for logical absolutes, then he shouldn't complain if I were to say that I don't need to give an account for God's existence.
Okay. So, using the laws of logic, since I can give an account, let's hear your account for God's existence. I mean, it's only fair, right?
Another answer that atheists have given me is to say that logic is something human minds merely recognize. But this does not account for logic. It only says that it is recognized, that it already exists.
You know, usually when I do these kinds of things, I tend to not hear a real rebuttal to my arguments. Seems Matt was ready.
So this explanation just doesn't work.
Huh? I mean, I gave an example on how that is true. Of course it works. Saying it doesn't without giving a reason why it doesn't is not an answer. You know what it is, Matt?
Nothing more than ducking the question.
Exactly. Now, we came here to talk about tag, not about who is logical and who isn't. I don't care what everybody else's arguments are, and I don't care about your attempt to disprove an atheist's reasoning or justification for the laws. So far, evading the question seems illogical.
Let's take this a step further and analyze logic a bit more and see what best accounts for its existence, atheism or theism.
Finally! Half the video I'm clipping was wasted on Matt whining about everyone else's arguments instead of arguing for his own.
First of all, the laws of logic are concepts. You think them. Logic is a process of the mind, not a process found in running water or sunlight.
Wait. Hold up. Concepts? As in conceptual. A product of the mind. But earlier, didn't you say this?
The most common answer I've heard is that logic is a product of human minds, but this can't work because human minds are different. What one person considers to be true, another may not. What one person considers to be logically necessary, another might reject.
So with that logic, and knowing that God is three persons, logic is now dependent on multiple minds anyway. You can't say they have one mind because Jesus said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" in Mark 15:34, Matthew 27:46, and is quoted from Psalm 22:1, spoken in a manner to say he is speaking to God the Father. For logic to be mind dependent, even if it was God, he can and has changed his mind. So the laws of logic would be able to change. If those laws can change, then contradictions could also be true. And since God's mind was changed in Exodus 32, Genesis 6, and 1 Samuel 15, the laws of logic are no longer concrete and could change. So by your own argument, your point of the laws being conceptual must therefore be false. So right out of the gate, you have failed in your own argument by defeating yourself. Let this be a lesson for all you atheists out there that want to get into the debate community but haven't yet. If a Christian wants to talk, let them. They'll crush their own worldview eventually anyway. Like now, I'm going to let Matt keep talking.
Second, the laws of logic are absolute. This means they don't stop being true if you agree or disagree with them. They don't change. Otherwise, logic would not be dependable and consistent with itself and with reality, and we would have no way of being rational and judging the validity of arguments.
And thus, they can't be mind-dependent. Any mind. If they depend on a mind that can change, then they can no longer be absolute. But now I'm just getting redundant here. We've gone on for so long about the first premise of tag, and it's not going anywhere, Matt. You're trying to sound so sure of yourself while contradicting yourself. If you are this adamant about putting your God into
the square hole,
please try to do better and write things out before you speak them on the fly. Then you can edit things out and make a more cohesive argument. Nod matter-of-factly and move on to the next... Okay, maybe writing out scripts can have other drawbacks. Moving on.
Third, the laws of logic are transcendent. Logic transcends space and time. This means that if you were to go in any particular direction and reach the end of the physical universe, logical absolutes don't stop being true because of where you are.
When you are, or even if you are, like I said before, the laws of logic are not mind-dependent. They are descriptive, not prescriptive, meaning they don't need anything to dictate them in any form. The funny thing here is, Matt is arguing that logical absolutes exist in a vacuum, meaning that if everything and everyone vanishes with nothing left, no minds, no existence, or anything, the laws of logic would still exist. So again, he is saying that God
goes in the square hole.
And here's how he does it. Keep talking, Matt.
Now, I need to ask a question. Isn't it logical to conclude that a person's thoughts reflect his mind? That he thinks in a manner consistent with what he is? Well, of course, this makes sense. So we can say that thoughts reflect the mind. Now, concepts reside in the mind, and thoughts reflect the mind. Since we have absolute and transcendent logical truths which are conceptual by nature, it is logical to conclude that there is an absolute and transcendent mind that, for a better lack of term, has authored the logical absolutes. I call this absolute and transcendent mind God.
Now, there's a lot to unpack here. Let's go over it part by part.
Now, I need to ask a question. Isn't it logical to conclude that a person's thoughts reflect his mind? That he thinks in a manner consistent with what he is? Well, of course, this makes sense. So we can say that thoughts reflect the mind.
No. A person's thoughts reflect the person's mind. There's a big difference there. My thoughts reflect my mind. Your thoughts reflect your mind. Thoughts are dependent on the mind that is thinking them. If one mind dies, thoughts will still happen with other minds. If I change my mind, my thoughts will change as well. If thoughts reflected the mind with the way you are phrasing it, someone else's thoughts would be reflective of my mind. Be careful how you word things.
Now, concepts reside in the mind, and thoughts reflect the mind.
Assuming you mean a person can have concepts, yes, this is true.
Since we have absolute and transcendent logical truths which are conceptual by nature, it is logical to conclude that there is an absolute and transcendent mind that, for a better lack of term, has authored the logical absolute.
No. Now you're just plugging a transcendental mind into the square hole of your reasoning. But logic is not mind-dependent. Once you realize that, the transcendental argument for God completely falls apart. It's the linchpin of the entire argument. You can't have logic be supernatural without showing there is a supernatural, unchanging God to get you there. Just saying there is one as a proof is a fallacy. And this is why I said at the very start that you can't prove or disprove the existence of God in any sort. Still, day after day, I get Christians saying they can prove God exists and then give arguments that are so full of holes, I use them to drain my pasta.
So there you have it, the tag argument. It says that the best explanation for logical transcendent conceptual absolutes is to propose a logical transcendent and absolute mind.
And you did nothing of the sort. If you can come up with a better argument...
You see, the atheist perspective can't account for logical absolutes, but the theistic one can.
Hey, now wait a second. I know I said I like to let Christians talk, but I was...
Now, if you don't like this argument, that's fine. But do you have anything better to offer?
Yes, everything I mentioned here is better to offer. Now, I was talking and...
If not, then this argument remains valid and shows...
Mute! For Darwin's sake, Matt, you failed again. You couldn't understand evolution before, and you don't understand logic now. Your linchpin has been pulled, and your argument crumbled. Now, I am Corsi, and this is the Fluffy Atheist. If you like this, thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down. Either way, please share it with friends if you want to share a funny video, or you want to point and laugh. I'm good either way.